How you?
Good, how are you doing?
Hello there, Mr. Edward.
Okay.
How you doing?
Tell me when.
Haven't seen you in a long time.
We're ready to go live. Okay. All right, folks. I'd like to call the general committee meeting to order on May the 11th, 2021, conference room 2. We will start at our left and acknowledge who we are and who we represent. Mr. Free.
Keith Free, Planning Director.
Jesse Econoff, Chief of Operations.
Jamie Clary, known as importance.
Chris Taylor, HR Director.
Tom Anderson, the New Shack Island Veterinary Hospital.
Dave Rumi, myself.
Jim Waters, Ward 6.
Thank you, Charlie Oliver, Ward 1.
Russ Edwards, Alderman Ward 3.
It's been a while since we've done this, so everybody's kind of, here's who I am.
Kind of hesitates.
It's good to be back in person. It's been 14 months since we've actually met in person. So, I will tell you that Mr. Hayes is on vacation, will not be here, so it's just me and Mr. Waters. And we hope that works out well. So Jim, you want to make a motion to approve the minutes from
Make that
April
motion.
13th?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Waters makes a motion, I second it, and that would pass unanimously. Next, we have ordinance 2021-16, an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code Title 1, Chapter 1, Board, Mayor, and Alderman, and Chapter 6, Standing Committee. Mayor, you're the sponsor of this. We've all read it. You want to?
Throwing it out, there's a conversation. We started the conversation at a workshop a couple months ago. I'm not married, any of the details in there. I'm not gonna fight one way or the other, but I know that people have asked about it. So feel free to get out the red pen.
Okay. I don't know. Here's who I would like to ask. I've got Alderman sitting behind me and our COOs here. You're here. We've got two of our directors here. We were chatting about this a while ago a little bit, and time wise, we got through our last general committee meeting in 27 minutes. And I felt like I had to run a 100-yard dash, and I don't run 100-yard dashes anymore, but we got it done. But I don't know if we covered what we needed to cover the way we needed it to cover. And so I don't know if the other committees are feeling that way. It adds an extra meeting a month, and we'll add 2 or 3 extra meetings if you want to come to other committee meetings and give input or listen. So I'm kind of like you are, Mayor. I'm not totally married to it. I'd really kind of like to hear what our employees think about having another meeting a month. You guys are ones that work all day. We bought off on this because we campaigned for it. And granted, we've got a lot of meetings in the next 4 or 5 weeks. It's budget time. So can I get you two to give input on?
Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, I will go first. I think probably from an employee, from a department head standpoint, I like the idea of the BOMA meeting starting earlier. That gives a chance for things not to maybe go so late. So I like if that starts at 6, then maybe having another meeting. For me personally, in my department, I've got a couple other folks for the general committee that if I needed to come for me, they could come for me. So it won't always be me. It may be Timothy, or it could be Grant that might fill in for me. So I think it would be okay. I think generally on the general committee, it needs to be at least about an hour. That a half hour really is tough to squeeze all that stuff down in there. I think you always get it done, but it is a squeeze to do that in that half hour period.
I don't really have anything additional to add other than I agree from the standpoint of staff works very, very hard to get things to this point. We do this once a month, and I feel like probably 75% of the time we're scrambling to get through the agenda by the end of it. We usually start a minute or two late because of rollover from other meetings, so I'm certainly supportive of giving more time at smaller committees, especially general, but also starting here as well. I think that's a big step in the right direction.
Our COO, want to hear from you.
I definitely like starting Velma earlier, no doubt about that. This has been the first week I've been in the multiple meetings, and it does seem like, the clock's ticking to get to the next one.
Yeah.
Um,
It's on your mind, definitely.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I echo Keith's remarks about the Bowman. I like the Monday because, as you just said a while ago, we have to rush to get through in time to get to the Bowman on Tuesday evening. This way, on Monday, if it takes an hour, so be it. That's what I like about it, because this committee has a lot of responsibility. We have a lot of things that come before this committee. So I'm in favor of this ordinance here. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I pretty well am. I'd like to get at the board level and get discussion there. The only thing that I feel, like the mayor said, take the Ren pin to it. I mean, if we do 5:30 meetings, public safety is at 6, general committees at 6:30. That still only gives public safety committee 30 minutes. I feel like they've got to move back to 5:30. If that's comfortable for them. If the whole goal is to not rush through the agenda, then we need, in some cases, in most cases, I'd say 45 minutes or an hour, 30 minutes. So I would move that we amend.
May I add discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, we've had committee meetings in the past where we've overrun each other. I mean, that's happened for years. I'm not a big fan of moving meetings out onto different days of the week. I like to have business condensed into the one night. I mean, if somebody has a loaded agenda, like say public safety, why not leave it up to the chairman to say, okay, instead of starting at 6, we're gonna start at 5:30, same for you. If you have no loaded agenda, okay, move it back to 6. The meetings are being recorded. I don't see too many other aldermen here for participation purposes, so they can watch the meeting later and catch up. I'm also not a big advocate of moving the Bowman meeting up, because there's folks that keep business hours, and we're coming from Nashville. I'll be honest with you, I was burning in at 6 p.m. trying to get here. And the same for some of our citizens, but I think it's more orderly to keep it all on Tuesday, and that the chairman adjusts their schedules back as need be. I think also moving the meetings around, is gonna get confusing for some of the citizens. I don't understand this one part about 6 p.m. and then 7 p.m., but I mean, we've already greatly shortened our Bowman meetings, which I appreciate. Those until 4 in the morning, I think that's ridiculous, but if you have a tall glass of water that you're gonna drink, that's on your own time. But if we shorten meetings, I can guarantee you that we're still not gonna complete business, because at times we're all long tooth. So I don't think that problem is gonna be solved. But I would prefer to see all on Tuesday. That's what I have blocked out in my calendar. I know other aldermen have it blocked out. I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't make Monday night meetings. Just start the meetings earlier. I'm happy to do that once a month. I don't care if I have to start 2 hours earlier, I'll make that adjustment. But adjusting to start having different days is a little bit more complicated, and that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Chairman, can I have a comment if you're, just briefly?
1 minute.
1 minute, okay.
If I'm gonna get through this tonight, you
I
got
will,
1
I
minute.
promise. I might throw a complete monkey wrench into this, but I was thinking maybe we could have on just the second Tuesday, have Bowman meetings and start early. And then the 4th Tuesday, maybe have committee meetings and only have one Bowman meeting a month. I know that sounds crazy. Maybe we can.
By
fit that
charter,
in.
you're locked into 2.
Is it by charter?
I believe it's by
And
charter.
we have to have 2? Pretty sure it's ordinance. I think we said that like in 1978, but
Yeah.
it's been there a while. I'm pretty sure it's just ordinance.
No, I'm not sure.
Well, it's something to think about, and that way you're starting all the committee meetings earlier, and some of the, and some of the department heads only have to attend their particular committee meetings, and then that takes the burden off of them, and you all start at 6, everything starts at 6. Just an idea.
Like that idea too.
Okay, here's what I think is best to do to expedite this now. I think there's some interest in it. I would like to go ahead and amend it just for getting it to the board purposes, that those 5:30s, public safety will start at 5:30 instead of 6.
Agree.
General will start at 6:30 because we would be meeting on the same night. And then finance committee would need to move to 6:30. Not sure.
6:30.
That would give them an hour. And give everybody an hour.
Don't make that motion, I'll just change it.
Okay.
Yeah, he's gonna make it.
Just change it.
Yeah, and I'll look up what the ordinances say about meeting time, about how often we meet for the board.
Yeah. I read that a long time ago. For some reason,
I think it's-
somewhere it says twice, and I don't know if it's charter or by ordinance. So,
I don't recall it being in there, but I'll probably go up on Charter 9.
I read it a long time ago.
Okay.
This kind of stuff.
Is that a motion you just made, sir?
It's a motion to, the mayor's gonna change the times. I'll move that we move it to the board for discussion. We're going
So we're leaving the Boma Lane just like you got it back.
right now.
Okay, I'll second that.
So I'll change that in my version. So you won't have to make an amendment if it comes to the board.
Okay,
And I'll get with Russ and we'll prepare an amendment from Russ,
okay.
so then we can discuss that.
Work with Mr. Bradley on that, please, both of you.
So that's approved for discussion on that.
Yeah, because I don't know. I feel less likely to do that than I do this personally.
Yeah.
But that's another, do one more
Oh,
meeting.
Okay. Great.
All right. Good. Ordinance amending Hendersonville Municipal Code, Chapter 3, Comprehensive Classification Compensation Play Plan. This was pulled 2 weeks ago. It's back on here with the mayor as the sponsor. What do you want to do with it, Mayor?
So this is, I guess it was probably about a month ago. Paul Harvestmeyer, myself, Chris, a couple other people in the meeting room, and that Mr. Bradley, and it sort of decided that where the problem was caused was that one paragraph. And that the best thing to do is remove that one paragraph. So that's what I'm proposing.
Mr. Waters?
Delete that whole paragraph, right? I second that.
All right.
And there are a couple of problems with that paragraph that we're gonna go into.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
Yeah, we don't, nothing gets appealed to the board, it gets appealed to the personnel committee. And the idea of items, not piece by piece, what does it say, case by case? That means there's no
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
That puts Jesse and the personnel board and personnel staff in a really bad situation.
Yeah. Well, he's not moving back to California, so I'd have to just work through some things. I don't think he's moving back to California. Not yet, anyway. We haven't drawn off yet. All right, all in favor, Mr. Waters?
Aye.
And I'll say aye. We'll move it. Positive recommendation. All right, resolution 2021-26, resolution to amend the job classification list and pay table. Mr. Peterson has done this. HR, can you give us some
I
input
will
here?
defer to Keith's gonna be able to speak more intelligently.
Yeah, this is in our department, in the planning department.
Okay,
And what this is a administrative secretary 2 position, no, administrative assistant 2, used to be administrative secretary and then the names changed. But this is a position that the job duties of that position are fall outside of the defined duties of an administrative assistant 2 classification. And so what we're doing, and we went through a whole process to get the third-party consultant to weigh in on it. Mr. Habersmeyer looked at this. I did a thorough evaluation of the position and found that that it really warranted a look at reclassification. And then you can see in my memo, this clearly is a case where reclassification should occur for this position. And so what I'm doing is moving this to planner technician position. It'll do a couple of things. And one thing it will do, but it's not being done to benefit the person that's in there. It's actually just trying to correct the position itself. And it'll change the position going to the planner technician, where that we have all of our positions will then be able to move up to the next position. So we'll have succession from the top to the bottom of the organization. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody would have on this. And then also, I might just mention, this has also been submitted as a part of our planning department budget to have this in there.
It's already in there.
It's in there, but if it passed through all of this, but it didn't pass in the budget, then I have it in this, that then it doesn't happen. So
It does not
it
have.
doesn't if it's not within the budget. So it's got two different things going on.
I have no question.
Chairman, I make a motion to accept this.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes and yes. Resolution to authorize the submittal of an application for community development block grant annual action plan. Mr. Freeman.
Yes, this is Grant Green is over our community development block grant funds. We receive a little over $200,000 each year. This upcoming year, we're going to receive $233,636. And that's not something we have to apply for. We get that automatically because we're what's called a participating jurisdiction with HUD. And there's a lot of restrictions on how you can spend that money. What we're looking to do in this upcoming year is spend about $20,000 for administrative costs, $7,500 to do a pilot program with Habitat for Humanity to help someone fix up their house. And then the remaining $205,636, we'll do some kind of street improvement or sidewalk improvement. And we'll do that within our defined low to moderate income areas, which is kind of shown on this map right here in the blue, but not the donut hole. We can't do anything within that area. But so we're kind of limited on what we can do and where we could do it. And this is the 5th year of our consolidated plan. And it's something, once we get all this done and we get our money for this next year and everything, I really want to have a discussion at near the end of this year. I want to discuss whether we really want to continue to be a participating jurisdiction and keep getting this couple $100,000. I think we would be better positioned to apply through the state to get larger chunks of money for specific projects. The amount of money we're getting here, it sounds like a lot of money, but it really, it doesn't go very far. And it's a very complicated thing to keep up with. So I'm looking at that. It's very possible that these funds, as well as some other funds from the federal government, if things occur with legislation that might happen, there's going to be strings attached that could relate directly back to our zoning, dealing with multifamily density and those types of things. So there's
Did we hear some things this morning pertaining to something like this? Yes, from the comptroller?
Not exactly, but the comptroller is going to release some funds, but he did call us an entitled city, which is the same
Yeah,
thing as
yeah.
as Keith is, Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
But you think down the road, you're gonna delete this one altogether? I mean, that's your thinking.
Yes, but we're gonna have a thorough discussion after we get this last group of money. Then we need to discuss whether we want to do another 5-year plan and sign up for another 5 years of money.
That's the quick question, Sharon.
Yes, ma'am.
So basically what you're saying is by using the HUD money, there could be stipulations that we have more high density housing within our zoning.
Yes.
Okay.
Could possibly even be not limited to HUD funds. It could be transportation funds as well.
Okay, so the state funds are more advantageous.
Yeah, for us potentially.
Thank you for
So
clarifying
we'll,
that.
yeah, and then we can get bigger. We might be able to apply and get 500,000
Yeah.
instead of doing 230. And then what we're doing right now basically is we're getting the money and then we're trying to figure out what to do with it. It's because of the size of the money. But if we were applying for grants, we'd be applying for a specific project that we actually wanted, that we might even be putting general fund to match with it or something. That's very possible to do a larger project.
Somebody else, Ms. Waters?
Make a motion to accept.
I agree. Okay, resolution to amend the personnel rules to establish a reemployment guidelines. Sir?
You do a vote on that one.
I
Get the first and
kind of did
second.
vote. Mr. Waters, all in favor? Mr. Waters?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm an aye. Resolution amending the personnel rules, establish reemployment guidelines for employees who are separated from city service but rehired.
So move.
So
Second,
this one is a kind of a continued effort of kind of our initiative over the last year or so. Kind of good for Mr. Eckenroth to hear too, is we've gone under some significant policy changes and revisions. This one actually is not a revision. This is a brand new policy because our city has absolutely zero guidelines right now as to what happens with a employee if we rehire that person. So a reasonable example, the most common example is going to be when we have an employee that's worked for us for a handful of years and has been a full-time employee. They resign, they go work somewhere else, they realize the grass isn't greener, and they want to come back to work for us. That's a very fundamental example. But what happens to that person from a pre-employment testing standpoint, all the way to a retirement, vacation time, sick time, pay, all of the things that would encompass a new employee, except this person already has some service credit with us. It starts to get really dicey when you get into police officers, commissioned employees leaving. If they go work for another agency and they stay commissioned, then bringing them back as an officer may not be that big of a deal. But what happens when they go sell cars for a couple of years, lose their credentials, and then want to come back? So I could go down the rabbit hole with examples. This is really a policy that even discussion started about with Mr. Voss a few years ago, and we just kind of slowly added to it and researched and kind of developed what we feel are some pretty strong guidelines to go by that all of our departments can go by from a reemployment standpoint, if that summarizes it in a nutshell. So I think this is a very solid thing for our city to have. Since summer of 2018, we have rehired, don't quote me, but it's anywhere between 6 and 8 full-time employees. And every time we just kind of try to remember what we did last time, which is not a good policy or practice to have. So this just gives us some written guidelines.
somebody's gonna scream it. They didn't get treated fairly.
That's exactly right.
Question. Volunteer separated. Is that,
Voluntarily separated?
yeah,
Okay.
is that the same as it?
It's like a resignation.
Has been?
The employee voluntarily separated.
I know, but you're going into, he's got to, after he serves 1 year.
Yeah, so 1 year, all of our research, not to mention Mr. Voss's experience, 1 year seems to be the most reasonable cutoff. If you're separated from city service for more than 1 year, a lot of times you simply kind of start your employment over for a lot of reasons, whether that be pay. Everybody wants to talk about pay, but there's a whole lot of different types of things involved in when someone's employment. If we have someone that's gone, and let's say we have an officer leave, that they're gone for 6 months and they come back and they want to come back to work for us, there's a lot of things that we pick right back up where we left off, if that makes sense. So if I'm understanding your question, Mr. Waters, there's like the 1 year mark is kind of what we're going to go by. That has also been our practice for the last 2 to 3 years. This just puts it in writing.
So if you rehire him, you're going to rehire him as a new employee after 1 year.
After 1 year, yes,
If
in
I'm
a
reading
lot
this
of
right.
ways. Yeah, I mean, their TCRS credit would be acknowledged. TCRS would acknowledge any full-time credit they had with us, but from all other intents and purposes, they would essentially start over as a brand new employee.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Again, it's a lot of circumstantial too. I mean, you're talking about it, generally this happens when an employee's only been here for a couple of years. I've yet to see a situation happen where we have like a 25-year employee leave and then want to come back. I doubt very seriously we would deal with that too much. We would certainly maybe make some accommodations there, but it's hard to draft a policy for every possible thing that may occur. So this is a good base for us though.
I'm good. Thank you.
You good?
I'm good.
Make a motion.
Move.
Second. Mr. Eckenroth, do you have anything on this? Mr. Waters, your vote is,
Aye.
and mine is aye.
How much time we got? Are we on a good schedule?
Yeah, we're gonna make,
Oh,
let you decide to talk too much here.
oh, I have to say that.
Resolution 2021-29, resolution to approve a final development plan for the new Shackle Island Veterinarian Hospital. Also move.
I second that one. That's in my ward.
Mr. Free, you got anything on this?
We have a representative of, for the development, and this is what to the planning commission to do a final development plan, to add some more, add a whole nother building out there to expand the current use.
Don't speak?
I have nothing to add other than we're complying with the request, and we're gonna have that submitted on the tonight.
Yes,
But this is gonna be a separate building, right?
yes, it is a separate.
Yes, it
Separate
is.
building.
Yes, sir.
The thing you and I talked about, do you want to share that with the committee? about-
Yeah, the property owner did agree to provide a cross access and construction easement across the front of the property so that would give an opportunity if the property that's currently owned by the Baptist Baptist Church to the north, and then to the south, it's the Volunteer State Bank owns property right there. Then that would give the opportunity in a future day for there to be an access road to a parking lot or something.
We're
On the
in the
front.
process of getting that deeded. In other words,
Yes.
coming up with the meets and bounds of that, and yes, we're in agreement with that.
And we really appreciate the owner and developers working with us on that, because what that gives us eventually the opportunity to have an access, a way to access off of New Shackle as development occurs. So you don't have to get on New Shackle, come back as you're going in and out of properties to that. So we really appreciate that.
It
And it's
would
a
help-
quality.
It would help any future development, wouldn't it?
It would, and we appreciate the quality of the development. I appreciate the owner developers working with us on the improvements that they made to their exterior. It's a quality looking building, and definitely those services are much needed that they provide. Appreciate it.
Doesn't sound like we can find anything to complain about, so I'll vote that we move this on to the board.
Second that motion.
All right. I'll also
Ah,
accept a motion to adjourn.
I move. We adjourn. What time we got?
We made it.
Did we?
According to my Mickey Mouse, we did.
Huh?
I got 6:58.
Yeah.
Good job.
For the service.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
There's so much stuff here you need to talk about. this movie.
You work.
Yeah.
Don't try to make a decision.
No, I'm
Try to
sorry.
be neutral. I'm not- I have my opinion.
Yeah, I
Still keep people in there, but-
Yes, sir.
I like it.